Thank you, councillors, senior staff, the clergymen and members of the press. A warm welcome to you for the February meeting of Temora Shire Council, and I declare the meeting open. And this meeting is being recorded and will be placed on Temora Shire Council's webpage for public information. And all of us present today are reminded that whilst we're speaking, that we agree that our views and our comments are being recorded and published. And we're also reminded that if or when speaking, we are of course to be respectful of others and to use appropriate language. Temora Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures during this council meeting. Now we proceed to the acknowledgement of country. As we begin our meeting today, Temora Shire councillors, our senior staff and all gathered in this chamber, and I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of Temora Shire's land and waters, the Wiradjuri people. We pay our heartfelt respect to their elders, both past and present, acknowledging the role they have and will continue to play as members of our Temora Shire community, a special place we all proudly call home. Thank you. And with those words, I'd invite Pastor Darren Kupke, if you'd please lead us in our opening prayer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, we'll bring to you words from Matthew 17, our Gospel reading for this coming Sunday, the Transfiguration Sunday, as we begin our journey from of Lent and towards Easter. And so Jesus took with him Peter, James and John up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. A bright cloud covered them, and a voice from the cloud said, "This is my son whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him." And so Jesus is not just an ordinary teacher, he is actually God's son. So he is, and he is the one who hears our prayers, takes our prayers to the Father, so let us pray to him. Father God, we thank you for this council and the Shire. We pray for the meeting today. We pray for your love to be shown. We pray for the residents. Help us to serve them well. We pray too for those who are going through hardship at the moment, for whatever reason, that you would uplift them and strengthen them, support them. And we think of those overseas too, with earthquakes and floods and cyclones as well, and other disasters affecting them. We pray for your support for rescue workers. And so, Lord, be with this Shire with the many challenges, many deliberations, many questions. Help them to make wise decisions. In the name of Jesus and the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Pastor Kupke. We appreciate you giving your time, and thank you so much. Welcome, Councillor Good. No, that's not a problem. You got a few brownie points racked up, so that's fine. Thank you. Councillors, let's now move to the apologies. We've received apology from Councillor McLaren, and that is all the apologies we've received. Councillor Judd has moved that we accept the apology. Thank you. Councillor Oliver moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, any declaration of any interest at this time, please? If not, you can raise it at another time. Councillors, confirmation of the January minutes of Temora Shire Council. If someone that was present care to move that they be received as true and correct? Councillor Good, thank you. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Any matters arising, Mr. General Manager, please?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Let's, councillors, proceed to our business paper, and we commence on page 11, the minutes of Council's Youth Advisory Committee, and I, as the chairman, was present, as was Councillor Bushell. And there were several items listed there that the committee noted with much interest. Councillor Bushell, would you like to move that the report's received?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Has moved that way. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillor Bushell, do you have anything you'd like to amplify to the report? No. Thank you. Councillors, any comments? Very, very busy youth portfolio, as you can see. There's tremendous work being done by our officers and the young ones involved. If there's no further comments, would someone be prepared to move the report of the Youth Advisory Committee and its recommendations? Councillor Oliver, thank you. You've moved that way. Seconded, Councillor Reinhold. Moved, seconded. There's no further discussion. If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Let's proceed, councillors, over to page, to page 20. The minutes of Council's Assets and Operations Committee, and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, is the chairman.
Mr Mayor, I'll move the report be received.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor has moved the report is received. Seconded, Councillor Bushell. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Nothing at this stage.
Thank you. Councillors, any comments or thoughts? I know that on page 21, 4.1, the Temora Rotary Club bench seats, there is a report further in the business paper, item 13.4 on page 304, that can be considered later, that complies with what the committee's recommended. I go to Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, just in relation to item 4.10, page, well, it says it's page 40 on there. I don't know where it would be in relation to this. 96.
Thank you. So page 96. Yes.
I've just read through the report again, and a few of the assumptions or the recommendations lack a little bit of consideration, in my opinion, for such an important piece of information that directs Council's stormwater strategy and anything that's considered in the future. There's some, what would you say, some comments in here that just, for want of a better word, appear a little glebe or lightly considered at the very least.
So what's your point, Councillor Irvine, please?
Well, I really think that Council needs to perhaps have a really close look at this flood study and just make sure that they're happy that the western drain's not going to be considered, the increasing the capacity of the eastern drain's not going to be considered, and that the Crown land isn't going to be looked at based on this report, because you know, the only restriction that I can see coming out of the report is the lack of a want. The eastern drain upgrade or increasing capacity has been basically just said it's too hard, but too hard relative to what? We haven't got any costings with anything further upstream and all of the detention basins in front of us, so we've really got nothing to compare the project with. So we've got a lack of will on the part of Mr Rooney to supply even just some loose ballparks in one area, and we haven't got full costings in another. So I don't see how we can do any comparison, any cost-benefit analysis or anything in that respect. So my opinion is I think Council should seriously consider having a look at a few of these options, and putting them completely off the table I think is certainly out of the question. At the very least, there should be a working party or some way that any infrastructure upgrades in the future accommodate expansions in this capacity.
Thank you. You're putting a motion in relation to item 4.10, the Temora Floodplain Risk Management Plan. There's a committee recommendation there that was passed to note the very detailed and extensive report. Are you moving a motion, Councillor Irvine?
Well, I'd like to move a motion that Council have a meeting in relation to this to consider all options.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. So that's just in relation to 4.1. Is there a second for that? 4.10. Is there a second for the third and final time? Is there a second for the motion? If not, are you seconding, Councillor Judd?
Or a question if I could, please.
Well, no, I'm sorry. Do we have a seconder? If not, the motion lapses. Councillor Judd.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just question whether how these are going to be, when we do get the flood study come back to us, how it will be presented to council, and will we have a chance to discuss things again at that time?
Thanks, Councillor Judd. The town planner, do you have a response to that, please, or the director?
I'll go town planner first.
So the town planner.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So yes, the flood study is following its procedures that were agreed in the terms of the funding agreement, which involves the Floodplain Risk Management Committee meeting initially to receive the draft plan, and then they would then make a resolution then to present that to council, and then that would come to the full council meeting after that.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Judd. Councillors, the Assets and Operations Report and its recommendations are there for you to consider. The Director of Environmental Services.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just on item 4.3 at Harper Park, I believe the Area Park Men's Shed have had a look at that cubby house and deemed it to be beyond repair. They have offered to remove it for us at a cost of $400.
Thank you very much. Do you have anything to add, Councillor Judd? No, thank you. Well, councillors, you have the report, the updates and recommendations there for Assets and Operations Committee for you to consider. Is someone prepared to move that the report and recommendations are adopted, or is there an alternate? Councillor Bushell, you move that the report and recommendations of Assets and Operations be approved and adopted. Seconded, Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I shall put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's proceed, pardon me, over to page 175, 8.3, the Economic Development and Visitations Committee report, and commencing on page 178, I was the acting chairman in the absence of Councillor McLaren, who is the chairman of that committee. Is someone prepared to move that the report is received? Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Councillor Judd, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, you see the items listed there in the Economic Development Visitations Committee report. Is there any comments or questions? If not, I'll go now to Councillor Bushell.
I'd just like to move the report.
Thank you. So Councillor Bushell is moving that the Economic Development and Visitations Committee report and recommendations be adopted. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Is there further discussion? If there's no further discussion, I shall put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go to page 185, Delegates' Reports. Do we have Delegates' Reports, please? I go now to Councillor Bushell.
Firstly, I have a question what is regarded as a delegate. I've always been nervous to ask what that was all
No,
about.
no, well, thanks, Councillor Bushell. But my understanding, delegates' reports, if you represent council on a particular committee that you've been appointed to, you may like to report on that, or if the mayor or deputy mayors ask you to represent council at a particular event, that if you wish to report on it, you may do so. Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for that clarification. Yeah, I was asked by the Mayor to attend the public school SRC ceremony. It was very humbling to see that those children actually say way more words than what we do in our oath. They just continued on for, I think it was 30 seconds of how long they spoke of how they're going to lead and do everything right by the school. So I think they've got a bit more of a tougher gig than what we do. So.
Thank you, Councillor Bushell. Thank you very much for representing council at that very important ceremony. Thank you. Further delegates' reports go to the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Yeah, just a report on Australia Day, very successful Australia Day. Because, you know, Ros Hartwig was the named the Citizen of the Year. I think it was a very popular decision. She certainly had a very good nomination. It was well put together. But she's just, as you know, one of hundreds of people in the Shire that do great things. And yes, I think it's very humbling for her to be nominated, and certainly to take out that. And Will Matthews is the Young Citizen of the Year. Once again, a great young bloke that's, he'll go a long way, I think. And it's good to see him. And the Pocket for Birds was the Event of the Year, which unfortunately was their last year. But so 3 good wins for Australia Day. So, yep. And I also attended the Lake Committee last week. They've allocated some funding towards 3 or 4 projects out there. They've had a couple of, or this year, particularly good year as far as the attendance at the lake. People cashed up. So, yes, they've picked out 3 or 4 projects that I think the major one is some more shade sales, and also they're keen to put some funding towards a fence around the playground equipment too. So there will hopefully a report be coming from them to council before too much longer. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
No, thanks, Mr Deputy Mayor. That's great, and well done to you as the chairman of the Australia Day Council, and Councillor Oliver as the treasurer, and I know Mrs Beth Firm as the secretary, and the team for hosting a great ceremony. Your ambassador, Wing Commander Simmons, certainly spoke very, very well. Anyway, well done and thank you. Further delegates' reports, I go to Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Here I attended the Australia Day breakfast at Airy Park. Ross St Clair and the organisers did a very good job of putting it on. Very good morning. Bill Spears was the guest speaker for the day, and he gave a practice run on the story of Murray Narell, so it was very good. We did 3 Australia Day awards. The first 2 were for Kevin Cole and Tom O'Shea, who've done an exceptional job of looking after watering our street trees in Airy Park, also the flower boxes in the main street and the grapevines. And I know back in the 2017-19 drought, Kevin was watering 300 trees a week. That's so it was an exceptional job. And the last award was for not so young now, but young Will Hare, who was driver behind the skate park at Airy Park. So, so it was a very good day. Thank you.
No, that's great. Thanks, Councillor Judd, and our warm congratulations to our award winners at Area Park District, and also it's great. I know that Mrs Sinclair sits on the Temora Shire Australia Day Council as well, and is most active. So thank you very much, Councillor. Just leading on from Councillor Bushell, I know that we attend many things, but I was invited to the St Anne's opening mass and student leader induction, and very special ceremony. And this year, of course, is a historical year for them with their first Year 11 class, and I was one of the several guests invited to present blazer to one of the students, and it was just a lovely privilege to be able to be there, and how they make a fuss, as I think all of our schools do, of our student leaders, house captains, sports house captains. It's tremendous, and seeing them wear their badges with pride, whatever their role. It's a special privilege to witness that. Councillors, just to remind you that also I opened the regional swimming carnival recently at our newly refurbished pool, and it was just tremendous to see people from all over the Riverina and beyond in attendance, and the praise, the warm praise, and and even people coming up after they knew, after I opened it, and commenting to us, and I'm passing that on. It's just very, very heartwarming to hear, and I think it just ratifies the decisions of former council and current council that we did make the right call in that space. So that was very special. Just in relation to further delegates, on behalf of the General Manager's committee, I had a call from Mason Blackadder, who are assisting us in terms of the facilitation of our General Manager recruitment, and Mr Pinnock advised me he'll send a more formal report in the coming days. But thus far, after the first week of applications or expressions of interest being sought, that we've received 31 people have downloaded it. So that's perhaps positive. Many, unfortunately, are from abroad and may find it a little challenging to get here. However, at least they're interested in Temora Shire in one way, shape or form. So, of course, applications close on the 6th of March, and we look forward to further updates as they arise. But we will furnish a proper update when received from Mr Pinnock and Mr Kiss. That's all I have. Any further delegates' reports? Councillor Reinhold.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just the Arts Centre Management Committee met.
Yes.
They were unsuccessful in a grant for a pottery shed. That was the round 5. But we're ready to go when the next one arises, and just getting organised, and everyone's passionate, it'll be good.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. And yes, I'm confident that there will be many other funding opportunities from a state or federal perspective, so at least you're ready and raring to go. So thank you very much. If there's no further delegates' reports, we shall proceed over to page 186, the Mayor's report for the month of January, and a recommendation on page 188 that the Mayor's report be adopted. Thank you, Councillor Good. It's moved that way. Second to Councillor Reinhold. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to page 189. Staff reports. A motion to receive staff reports, please. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, Councillor Oliver, moved and seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. We shall proceed over to page 190, the General Manager's report, 12.1, calendar of events. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As presented.
Thank you very much, Mr General Manager. Councillors, just there are some items to note, of course, particularly. It's a very busy time, of course, the first quarter, as we go into the integrated planning, reporting, budget process, and various other workshops that you note there, but also a very special ceremony, of course, on the 3rd of March, the Freedom of the Shire, where we will be honouring Councillor Judd and former mayors in Councillor Judd, Councillor Mr Spears and Mr McRae. So that will be a very special event. And of course the tour of inspection on the 30th as well, and a program's being drafted at the moment, but it is a busy time. And just remember, we can only do our best, so don't let it overwhelm us. But it would be great if you can attend, if not all, as many as you can. Thank you very much. Councillors, there is a recommendation the General Manager has that the calendar events be noted. Councillor Good, you move that way? Yes. Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion, please? Councillor Reinhold, thank you. Moved. Seconded. Further discussion? If not, further discussion, Councillor Good.
I was just inquiring whether with the heavy vehicle workshop, can I attend that via Zoom? So I won't be in town that day.
We can make arrangements. Thanks, Councillor Good. We're just flexible as our middle name. Thank you. If there's no further discussion, we'll put the motion to. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Over to page 191, 12.2, Delivery Program, the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This is, councillors, this is a 6-monthly report that's required under the Integrated Planning and Reporting guidelines, and it's our response to the Community Strategic Plan. It's slightly different to the operational plan that we normally do. So for council's information, and if any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillors, you have the report there for you. The General Manager.
Just make one further comment, Mr Mayor, and that's in relation to the metrics at the start. I noted in the report, but a lot of the metrics aren't available as yet. They're reports that come out after the end of the year, so it's difficult to know how we're tracking against that until that period.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Good.
I move that the report be received.
Thank you. So Councillor Good's moving that the report, Council received the delivery program review. Thank you. Seconded, Councillor Reinhold.
Yes.
Discussion.
Yes,
Councillor
please.
Reinhold.
Thank you. Just on page 212, you've got promote availability of services for people who are fleeing violence, experiencing homelessness and substance abuse, etc. Where it says who can help and partner, well, we should put the community centre in there as well.
Oh yes, page 212. Yes, General Manager, you have a comment?
No, happy to do that, as they are a very important player in that field.
Yeah, well, they're the first place people go.
Yep, exactly. Thanks, Councillor Ryan. And this is what's great about this document. We all of us get to have a look at it and assist in populating it. Any further discussion? God bless you. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go all the way over to page 270, 12.3, bank closures, the General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor, and I guess this has now got more historic interest than anything else, because it was supporting the Junee community in calling for a moratorium and also an inquiry. Of course, since this report was written, both those things have happened, so they've had a reprieve on their bank closure in Junee, as well as having an inquiry which will report back to government by December. So I guess if the recommendation that I would make is that council agree to make a submission to the banking inquiry when we have that opportunity
and monitor the situation. Councillor Good.
Mr Mayor, yes, I would like to move that way.
Thank you very much, Councillor Good. You move that way. Seconded, Councillor Bushell. Thank you. Moved, seconded. Discussion. Discussion, Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's something that I've been concerned about for a while. As you're aware, I've got an office in Narandra, and Narandra now only has one of the major banks left, the Commonwealth Bank. It does have the Bendigo Bank, which is a community bank which was formed some years ago, and is very beneficial. I did note that after the Senate announced their inquiry, the Commonwealth Bank said that they would put a moratorium on the closures of the branches, whereas Westpac said they wouldn't. So they've since had further pressure, and now Westpac are putting a moratorium on closure of their branches as well.
Right, didn't know that.
It is a concern with banks closing. The one in Junee particularly, there is they said that the people who bank at the Commonwealth Bank can bank at the post office, but the post office doesn't have wheelchair access, so anyone in a wheelchair can't use it. Australia Post can't collect cash, so if you're a business, you can't bank cash there, and they quite often won't accept cheques for some banks either. So it's a very poor service as opposed to the bank branches. And the banks have been actively pushing people on to doing it electronically, even for people who can't. And I see people regularly where they're elderly, they don't have a computer, they're not aware of how to do anything. The only way they can get their money is going into the bank. And if the bank's shut, they would lose that. And we would lose those people because they couldn't afford to live here because they can't access any services.
Thanks, Councillor Good, and I fully endorse all of your remarks, and even those that simply want to make a deposit as well, if they've received cheques or if there's cash to put in accounts. And unfortunately, you have a lot of the staff in those banks that have been instructed from on high to tell us to use the ATM or to use this, and again, to stop utilising the branch. So that's not the staff members' fault, of course, but it's a directive from on high. But it is a disgraceful situation, and if I hear another major banking institution say that they care about people and people first, I'll scream. But having said that, you have a motion before us, councillors, from Councillor Good and Councillor Bushell, that council agrees to monitor the situation and make a submission to the federal government's banking inquiry. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much, councillors. We go to page 272, 12.4, Local Government Conference. The General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. This is the annual conference that's held. This year it's in Parramatta. It's on in November. It's been council's practice in the past to have the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, one other councillor and the General Manager attend. So it's a matter of us making a nomination for that, including the voting delegate, which is almost always the Mayor.
Thanks, Mr General Manager. Councillors, you've heard what traditionally has been the practice. What's council's wish? Councillor Judd?
I always encourage.
Councillor Judd?
Sorry.
Yep.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I don't think we should restrict numbers going to conference. If anyone really wants to go, I think we just, but we never really had a problem of having too many people wanting to go. So, but I think the present policy of Mayor and Deputy Mayor and one other and the General Manager be at least continued, plus anyone else that wants to go.
If it's in a timely, yeah. So you'll move that way, Councillor Judd?
Yes.
Thank you. Seconder for the motion, please, Councillor Good. Thank you. Moved, seconded. All those of that, further discussion, Councillor Judd?
No, sorry.
Oh. No further discussion? If not, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, we have a urgent late report from the General Manager you should have on your desks, and that's 12.5 seals. The General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, there are actually 2 seals to be done. I've only got one listed there because the other one, by nature of what it is, has to be done in confidential. But at this moment, if we could get approval to affix the seal to the deed of compensation to the Greyhound Breeders, Owners and Trainers Association.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillor Good, you're moving.
I'll move that way.
The recommendation. Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Oliver. Thank you. Moved. Seconded. Discussion. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. On the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Nothing else of an urgent late nature, Mr General Manager?
No, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, let us proceed. Page 273, the Engineering Services Department report. 13.1, Regional Local Roads Repair Program, and I defer to the Engineering Works Manager, the Manager.
Thanks through you, Mr Mayor. In regards to this report for the Regional Local Roads Repair Program funding, we've been successfully awarded 2.43 million under this fund. So this is in addition to the Fixing Country Roads pothole funding that we successfully received previously, and it's also in addition to the $1 million in the New South Wales Local Government Recovery Grants Program, which will have a report furnished back for discussion at the next Assets and Operations Committee meeting for projects. This program is heavily slanted towards being surplus to maintenance type work, so simply repair. It's not upgrade type projects, so we can't do resheeting or any of that type of works, but we can do maintenance, heavy maintenance, gravel patching and stuff like that. Just because of the sum of money and what the program is, we've had a bit of a look, both myself and the engineering asset manager, at possible ways to spend this money in conjunction with other projects and looking at Council's General Maintenance Fund, and justified or tried to give justification of those listed in the table in the report as well in quite depth, so that gave a good understanding to councillors of why we were proposing certain things. So just looking at the items in table 2 of the report essentially to see if council endorses that program of works or has other views for that funding.
Thank you, Mr Manager. Can you turn yours off, Mr Manager, please? Thank you. I go to Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the report and thank the Engineering Department for a very thorough report. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Councillor Bushell. Councillor Bushell's moving moving that we adopt the proposed program of works on table 2 of the report to utilise the funding received. Councillor Oliver, you seconding?
Yeah, I'll second it, yes.
Thank you. Moved Councillor Bushell, seconded Councillor Oliver. I wonder if the mover and second, would you be happy to also add, I think, and further, that we actually write, we're one of the very few councils in the state that evidently write letters of thanks when we receive grants. And as far as I'm concerned, those 2 words, thank you, are very important. So mover and second, you're happy to include that? Thank you. Further discussion, councillors? Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a question to the manager. It says here that works must be completed by a certain date, otherwise the unspent funds would be refunded. Were you able to complete the works in that amount of time, I would hope? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. We'll go to the Engineering Works Manager.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor, for Councillor Oliver's question, it's definitely a high volume of work in comparison to a lot of the other grant funds we've received, but we'll make sure it happens because we don't want to give the money away, but it may mean we have to engage a bit more heavily in the contractor space to be able to achieve it, unfortunately, but it's better to do that than give up the funds, so it's just what we're going to have to look at.
Thank you, Mr Manager. Thank you, Councillor Oliver. This is just tremendous assistance, councillors, as we know, and we are just so grateful. And I know the Finance Director is particularly pleased with this windfall. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. Councillors, all those of that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, we proceed over to page 296, 13.2, Essential Energy Tree Removal Proposals, and I go to the Engineering Assets Manager, the Manager.
I'll just declare a non-pecuniary interest in that.
Thank you. The Director of Administration and Finance has declared a non-pecuniary interest, and I defer to the Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr Mayor. So council's received correspondence from Essential Energy's contractor, vegetation management contractor, basically seeking approval to remove the identified trees based on their proximity to the power lines.
Thank you, Mr Manager, and of course no cost to council in terms of removal, but if there's replacements deemed, obviously that would be.
That's correct. There's no cost for the removal if council's agreeable. But yeah, we'd be expected to replace them if we wish to replace them, and it'd have to be replaced with a species that was compatible.
Yeah, thank you very much. Councillors, you have the report there for you to consider, and I go to Councillor Irvine.
To the asset manager, has Essential Energy got a list of compatible species?
Thank you. The manager.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Listen, we've asked them previously for a list of compatible species, and we've never received one.
Thank you. Councillor Irvine.
Just due to proximity, I've had a discussion with the resident affected at 145 Carson Street. Basically, that resident just said they'd rather those trees not be removed because they are so established. They've had a heavy prune, and that resident believes that they're serving or causing no more harm than any other tree in the street. So I just ask that those two trees be reviewed with those concerns in mind. That street basically has that species under that full length of power line. So there's two trees here that have been picked out of about 20. And it would be interesting just to see their reasoning behind that.
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Thank you. Councillor Judd.
Could I just ask where our managers or our Parks and Gardens manager has an opinion about these trees and whether we should seek their opinion rather than just take a blanket order from the Essential Energy just to remove them. So.
Thanks, Councillor Judd. I'm going to go to the assets, the engineering assets manager, the manager.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. We haven't, I haven't asked for that opinion yet. If we did, I would probably recommend that we should ask our consultant doing the street tree work. That's still ongoing. And I don't see that as impossible. I think that's a reasonable move.
Thank you. Councillor Reinhold.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I agree with all the comments that you look at the ones in Tonkin Street. They're I think it's a golden robinia, I think is the name. Well, they're everywhere. So we say yes to this, it's going to be flowing onto every other street. So, no, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Reinhold. I'll go to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Not a very good time to be a tree in Temora Shire, I'm afraid, with this monthly meeting. We're getting knocked out everywhere. The aesthetic value of these trees really can't be measured, but I understand that they're a bit of a problem under power lines, but we're sort of between a rock and a hard place, I think. If we don't allow Essential Energy to do what they must do, I can see that at their cost, I can see in the future that council's going to be liable for anything that might go wrong. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just unfortunate that we have to do this sort of thing, but anyway, it is what it is, I suppose. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. You're quite right. It is in many ways, it's a challenging decision for council. Go to Councillor Irvine.
Can I move a motion that this report be referred to the person conducting council's street tree survey and a future report come back to council?
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. I'll take that as a motion. Second to Councillor Judd. Thank you. Moved. Second and further discussion. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I'll declare that motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go over the page to page 300, 13.3, Highfields Estate. And I go to the Engineering Assets Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, again, this is a request from the developer in relation to some trees in the road reserve that require removal for underground power to service a development area or a development. Additionally, there's a footpath that has to fit on this reserve, and yeah, it's there for council's consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councillors, you have a report there for you to consider, and I go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see this as a bit different to the previous request. If the power lines go underground, we won't have the previous issue that we will have here. If we're going to put a footpath, and I notice there's also curbing and guttering would be going there as well. The species there, or the trees that are there, that they are nice trees. They provide a lot of shade. But I think for progress, and I think I'd like to move that council give approval to clear those trees.
Thanks very much, Councillor Good. Seconder for the motion, please. Seconder for the motion, please, Councillor Irvine. Thank you. Moved, seconded. Is a discussion. Councillor Judd.
Question to the Assets Manager. Is there any intention of replacing these trees with more suitable shrubs after all the work's been done?
Thank you, Councillor Judd, the Assets and Engineering Manager.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I would 100%, or actually 99.5% say that that'll happen.
It will happen.
Will.
You're on the record now, boy. He's learning. Thank you very much. Go to Councillor Irvine.
Yeah, and just to add some comment to that, I'm sure I recalled in the DA that they had a list of tree species and they had plantings planned throughout the estate or the subdivision. And I imagine this is just purely to allow them to get in and get a clear run at the job and instate the footpaths and do everything they need to do, and then they'll plant on completion with a group planting that'll be consistent. And I don't see a problem. I think it's going to be more a replacement situation.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. I think you're spot on. Councillors, if there's no further discussion on the motion, and that is that Council approve the request to clear approximately 90 metres vegetation on Loftus Street from Gallipoli Street intersection. If there's no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those with that opinion, please say aye. Contrary, no. I'll declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Let's go to page 304, 13.4 in the Engineering Services Department report. The Rotary Club bench seats. I'll go to the Engineering Assets Manager.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this, I guess, follows on from the Assets and Operations Committee. So I went and had a look at the picnic settings in the eastern area of fringe of town. And yeah, I guess the report is as written. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. I'll go now to Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And some water.
I really think if it's going to cost $3,000 to $5,000 to relocate these, they're not, they don't seem to be suitable for anywhere, really. I know they don't get used a lot, but they may as well stay there where they are, as far as I'm concerned, because it just seems like a waste of time and effort to route them out and probably put them in the storage yard somewhere. So that's all I'll say, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Oliver. I'll go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is on my way home, and I do see people using these table and chairs. It's just near a cul-de-sac there, so it's people can pull up. If they've got a caravan or something like that, there's room to park, and so they are used. And I agree with Councillor Oliver to spend $3,000 to $5,000 on moving them to a place we don't have a place to move them to is not necessarily the best use of our resources.
No.
So I would move that council take no action.
Thank you. So Councillor Good is moving that in relation to 13.4, the bench seats report, we take no action. Second to Councillor Oliver. Discussion. I'm going now to a patient engineering assets manager.
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Listen, probably the one clarification I should make here, if there was an existing concrete slab to put these on, you'd cut that in half easily. Yeah, that would be the only caveat. Like if there was a spot that had a slab ready to go and it was a scenario of, unbolt these, bolt them on the new slab and then demolish and reinstate this, you'd cut that in half, but just for information.
Thank you. There's no further discussion. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. The contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything of urgent, late nature from our engineering managers, please? No, thank you very much. Let's now, councillors, proceed to page 307. The Environmental Services Department report, 14.1, the draft conflict of interest policy. The Director.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Requirement by state government with an amendment of the EPNA reg. We've got to have this policy. They've provided a model which our town planners kindly adopted to suit Temora Shire. It needs to be placed on public exhibition so it can be voted on at the March meeting to come in effect before the 3rd of April deadline. So for council's decision.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Councillors, you have the report there, the draft policy for to consider, and a recommendation also, which we're just adding in what was already in the body of the report, that the public exhibition period would be for 28 days. Go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report, the policy, is brief, but I think it's to the point, and as far as I can tell, it's basically just covers what council do already.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Councillor Bushell, you're seconding the motion, that being that, pardon me, one, that council place the draft conflict of interest policy for council-related development on public exhibition for 28 days and consider a future report on the outcome of the exhibition. No further discussion? No. There's no further discussion. I will put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Get husky today. Thank you. Mr. Director, is there anything of an urgent late nature for council to consider?
No, there is not, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, let's go over to page 314, the Administration Finance Department report, 15.1, the quarterly budget review, and I now go to the Director of Administration and Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the QBRs, as presented, happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Director. Councillors, you have the report there and the copious notes in terms of the budget variations, which we commend the Director for that. And of course, I know there's several of us that have rang up if we're not sure of something, and thank you for the clarification that you give in that space. I go now to Councillor Irvine.
Just a question to the Director. On page 317, in the notes, the first item, it lists a $48,000 decrease in user charges from the aerodrome, caravan park and cabins. Lease arrangement commenced November 2022. The previous figures I've got on that are much higher in terms of income on a yearly basis. Can you expand on the difference there, please?
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. The Director.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So that's basically adjusting. So we had received income up until November, the date when the lease agreement came into effect. So that that income to date was ours to keep, and so then I've just removed the remaining 48,000 of budget income, which the lessee will now be entitled to. Yep.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions in relation to the quarterly budget review? If not, pardon me, councillors, there is a recommendation the Director has there for Council to consider on page 314 that we adopt the quarterly budget review for the quarter ending 31st of December 2022. Councillor Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Reinhold has seconded the motion. Moved, seconded. Is there further discussion? If no further discussion, I shall put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. I declare the motion carried. Thank you very much. Anything of an urgent, late nature from the Director?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, let's proceed to page 326. Correspondence 16.1, a day at the lake, and I go to the General Manager.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillors, as you can see, this is an event being proposed by the Temora Aviation Museum. Very exciting event with the number of spectators expected. Just a couple of changes. The bins are now no longer required. They have contracted a company to do this. The only thing they will require is access to power at the lake. And also the roads and the lake closed for that day. So, and potentially, depending on the traffic management plan, potentially some slow down type signs on the main road to stop the speed of people past the event.
Thank you, Mr General Manager. There'll be minimal expense to council.
Yes, it will be minimal. I think we're talking about that $600-800 mark. There's also, I should also mention, Mr Mayor, that the Lakes and Tannery Management Committee are happy with the event and give their support for the event, so there's no need to refer back to them.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr General Manager. Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It says that the event's going to 9 o'clock. Daylight savings finishes the 2 or 3 weeks before. When we had the TBAC light function out there, I felt like it was quite dark. So are they thinking of provisions for lighting for safety of attendees?
Thanks very much, Councillor Bushell. The General Manager might...
I can't answer that, Councillor Bushell. I imagine they'd be taking that into account in their planning, but I don't know.
It can certainly be flagged, Councillor Bushell, if Council consider supporting this event, because I think you raise a good point. Councillor Reinhold.
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, Councillor Bushell's right. That was one of the, not complaints, but, you know, to improve on next time for the TBAC event. And also the power, if you've got a lot of people wanting to do food and things, I don't know if the power, they might need their own generators. That's all I can suggest.
Thank you, Councillor Reinhold. I go to Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I wonder if the General Manager could explain what chilled music is, please.
I was going to ask that, but I'm glad.
Councillor Irvine's a muso, mate, so he might be able to do that.
So you have no answer? No. Councillor Irvine, could you shed some light on the subject?
No, I'm just looking at those dates, and I think daylight saving starts on October 1. So that would mean that falls within daylight saving. Chill music, I imagine it's just not heavy metal or rap or, you know, fairly relaxing, chilled out type of vibes, I'd say.
There we go.
And I do concur with Councillor Reinhold's suggestion, and I'm sure the Aviation Museum will be all over it with the technicalities of the power situation. I'm not sure. Does anyone know what the jet boats do? Do they use generators, or have they got an upgraded system out there?
Thank you, Councillor Irvine. Right, we'll just have to hold fire on that unless the works... No, that's all right. In the meantime, let's go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would move the recommendation.
Thank you. So Councillor Good, you're moving the recommendation that Council approves the event and the support as requested. Seconded, Councillor Irvine. Seconding, thank you. Moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If there's no further discussion, other than, of course, noting the other comments, of course, Mr General Manager, from councillors, thank you. I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. And like other speakers, that we do commend the Temora Aviation Museum for this initiative, and it does sound exciting, not just for locals, but for those visiting this beautiful Temora Shire. Thank you very much. Nothing of a urgent late nature in terms of correspondence, Mr General Manager.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councillors, let's proceed over to page 328. We have business with notice, and from Councillor Irvine, there are several matters in open to consider, and we go to question 1. Now, how are we going to work this, Mr General Mayor? Would you like me to read the question and then you answer? Okay. So the question Councillor Irvine has asked, please provide proposed date for Genie Road Caravan Workshop. The Administration and Finance Director.
The Genie Road Caravan Workshop has been scheduled for 11:45 on March committee meeting day, which is the 7th of March.
Thank you. Question 2, please provide information on status of shell wall mural project, and that is in the hands of the Administration Finance Director.
The issue was considered at council meeting held on the 20th of October 22. The council resolved to support in principle and refer to the Heritage Committee. It was considered by the Heritage Committee on the 27th of October, which noted, agree with principle of wall refurbishment, frame/border around artwork, would prefer that the image is not painted directly onto the wall, and suggest a style of framed hoarding. Artwork should depict the heritage of the buildings, e.g. Empire Hotel, Sutton's Motors. Heritage assistance may be available as a contribution for this project. The matter was referred back to the Assets and Operations Committee on the 6th of November 22 and was ratified by Council at the meeting held on the 15th of November 22 with the resolution of right to the property owner to ascertain whether the property owner is open to the proposal in the event that the grant was available, and further the Heritage Advisor be engaged to advise on other potentially suitable properties for the public art. Council officers have sent a letter to the property owners of the subject site, 149 Hoskin Street, on the 22nd of November 22. The letter advised that the northern-facing external wall of your property has been identified as a highly prominent site that may be suitable for enhancement to include public art for the benefit of heritage, tourism and amenity. The enhancement would likely involve painting the wall or similar to display heritage or tourism-related artworks and words. The owners were asked for their permission for council officers to seek funding opportunities to enhance the external wall. The owners were advised that no financial contribution was being sought from themselves and no response was received. Under the request of the Heritage Committee, Council's Heritage Advisor has commenced investigation of other potential sites within Temora that may be suitable for the display of public art. Preliminary findings were presented to the February Heritage Committee meeting. Council's Heritage Advisor has been requested by the committee to provide a short list of the most suitable sites to be presented as a report to a future council meeting. The Bundawarra Centre Manager is also preparing a short list of the most suitable images that may be considered as part of this project.
Thank you. The next item is question 3. Please provide update of sheep major issue incident as referred to at the November 2022 council meeting. The Director.
This matter has been completed. We're unable to provide any further comment as there is ongoing legal action which does not involve council.
Thank you. Question 4. Please provide update of safe work matter at Temora Airfield. The Director.
This issue is progressing. Temora Aviation Museum is currently preparing a plan for the on-site disposal of starter cartridges and is planning on submitting this to Safe Work in mid-February 2023 for consideration. Concurrently, Temora Aviation Museum has been granted Safe Work approval to remove a sample of the starter cartridges, transporting these to an approved facility in Sydney to undertake testing. The hope is this testing results in an approval to transport the starter cartridges off-site for disposal at an approved facility.
Thank you. Question 5. Please provide date the stage trailer is due for registration inspection. The Director.
The new mobile stage registration expires on the 13th of June 2023, so we'll need inspection for registration renewal prior to that date. The inspection will be in more detail than the usual registration inspection due to being prior to the sale of the old stage.
Thank you very much. Question 6. Please provide anticipated date for sale of old mobile stage.
As per the report to the October 22 council meeting, the old mobile stage will be sold by expression of interest process in Q4 of the current financial year, which is after March but before the end of June, after the inspection of the new stage.
Thank you. And question 7. Please provide update of the Temora Agriculture Innovation Centre septic tank earthworks. The Director.
These works have been completed.
Thank you. Question 8. Please provide any early information around Lake Centenary Pedestrian Bridge project, such as scope of works and anticipated schedule. The Director.
The scope of works of the Lake Centenary Bridge project is the installation of 2 bridges on the western edge of Lake Centenary. The design plans for the installation, including new paths to access the bridges, are currently being finalised by a civil engineering firm. Installation is weather and water level dependent, but the project must be completed by June 24 in accordance with the grant agreement.
Thank you very much, Madam Director. Councillors, just whilst Councillor Irvine is certainly entitled to be sending those, just perhaps in terms of meeting time, that if some have questions, you've still got the opportunity to send requests to council staff. It certainly still takes the time for them to prepare a response if it's appropriate, but again, just for your consideration. So thank you very much. Go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move. I appreciate that there's questions that councillors need, and it's good that we can ask to the staff. I don't know whether it particularly needs to be read out because I think we all know how to read. I was just thinking that it may be better just to, and save more time for on council meeting day, is just to provide it with the late agenda that we can read at our own time.
Thank you, Councillor Good. That is certainly an option, but again, it's certainly not recorded, but at least it'll be part of the minutes of the meeting. So that's something that council could consider. Councillor Good, thank you very much. Councillor Irvine.
Here's a question to the Director of Environmental Services. Have you got a total costing on the septic tank earthworks at the Ag Innovation Centre, please?
As far as I know, the account hasn't been received, Councillor Irvine.
Thank you. Councillor Irvine.
And just a question to the Engineering Assets Manager. Have you got any views on what the coatings of those bridges may be, or is that still to be decided?
Well, thank you, Councillor Irvine. The Engineering Assets Manager.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is a bit of a funny one. I'll look after Rec and Open Space, but because Alex started the project, he's finishing the project.
So we go to, I mean, I don't know whether this is operational or not. I would have thought it would be. The Engineering Works Manager, do you have a comment or?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Originally it was to buff the existing etch prime and coat with a colour that will match in with the flooring and the side panels. That component will still happen, but in terms of the painting, that treatment won't happen in that exact way now. They'll have to take it back down and blast it just because it's been sitting idle for a bit due to hold-ups with the project with how much water's been in the lake.
Good suggestion. Thank you, Mr Manager. Councillor Judd.
Could I just ask a question on safe work matter at the Temora airfield with the camera bomber cartridges to the asset manager? Do you think that the matter will be resolved before the end of March as previously indicated.
Thank you, Councillor Judd. The Engineering Assets Manager.
Probably not keen to speculate in that space. I'd be hopeful, but I definitely can't guarantee that. These things move pretty slow. But you'll see they've got concurrent plans, so there's 2 plans there, so they'll go with whichever is the quickest. But yeah, I couldn't currently answer that question.
Thank you, Councillor Judd.
My concern is that we've already lost 2 events already.
Thank you.
Because of this incident, and we do have the antique aircraft rally coming up in April, and we don't want to lose it as well. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Judd. Yes, I know exactly where you're coming from. I think all of us know, and as chairman of the Aerodrome Users Committee. So thank you. And Councillor Good, in relation to your suggestion about these questions with notice, the General Manager will go away and consider that suggestion if Council are happy with that. Thank you very, very much. Councillors, over to page 330. We have received nil notices of motion and, of course, urgent business without notice. And I've been chipped again that I haven't been tough enough. So I'm going to invite the Administration Finance Director to please read, because this is an education process not only for me but for all of us. The Director.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the business to be considered urgent isn't a matter of business without notice. Yeah, the business has to be considered Start again.
Yep, start again,
has to be ruled by the chairperson to be of great urgency on the grounds that it requires a decision by council before the next scheduled ordinary meeting of council. So, great urgency and requires a decision of council.
Thanks very much. Thank you, councillors. So that's, and I think that if we keep hearing that, I think it helps. It helps all of us, frankly. So, councillors, is there any urgent business without notice? If not, thank you very, very much. Councillors, we now proceed to page 331, Councillors' information paper, and I'd be pleased to receive a motion to receive the information paper. Councillor Good, you'll move that way. Councillor Bushell, seconded. Moved, seconded. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Items out of the information paper, I go to Councillor Bushell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Item 20.15 is very exciting to see that we're going to have an avenue to see live results. Is there any more discussion from the report as to
So what page,
training?
Councillor?
Page 365.
Thank you.
Onboarding with Transport for New South Wales, One Road.
Yes. Thanks, Councillor Bushell. I go to the Engineering Works Manager, the Manager.
Through you, Mr Mayor, sorry, what were you clarifying in regards to that report?
Sorry. Councillor Bushell's referring to page 365, 20.15, onboarding with Transport for New South Wales, One Road.
Yep, through you, Mr Mayor. So in the most recent tranche of Transport for New South Wales rolling out One Road, which is the system that feeds into live traffic, council was offered to onboard in that program. So we've met with them, had discussion, signed off on the MOU that was required as part of it, and then we're just up to the 3 training sessions required for the administration staff that will upload data into that portal.
Thank you, Mr Manager. Councillor Bushell.
Thank you. I just recall Councillor Oliver stating that on his school bus runs when some of the roads are closed that you could see interstate traffic. So this system will hopefully let them know that local roads are closed. Is that correct?
Thanks, Councillor Bushell. The Engineering Works Manager.
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. Using mobile devices and feeding into navigations in vehicles that live traffic does at the moment, it will support that process in ensuring our local roads are flagged like the state road and national network.
Thank you, Mr Manager. You're happy, Councillor Bushell? Thank you. I now go to Councillor Good.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to make a statement about, on page 369, Greg Warren discussing the Red Fleet, his very definitive statement. Further, I can assure you that New South Wales Labor has been taking an active interest in the matter, exploring this discrepancy further in budget estimates and thoroughly considering the case for sensible and logical reforms. So he's obviously a good politician.
Thank you, Councillor Good. Look, I have to admit, Mr Warren, with Temora Shire has a very good relationship with Mr Warren, and of late we've been agreeing on many things, and sometimes we don't. But yes, it certainly is an interesting letter. I'm glad it's on their radar. Thank you. Councillor Judd.
Councillor Good beat me to that one, but my question was, well, my point is, being a state election in a few weeks' time, have we got a policy statement from our local member about the rural finances and what is following on for what the Labor Party as well? So it's time to be really pushing it. If they are going to do anything or not? That's all. That's my argument.
Thanks, Councillor Judd. Well, certainly, as you may recall, in the New South Wales Country Mayors has a suite of policies as well, and that is one of them in terms of wanting, obviously, the assets to be divested from councils. And the latest discussion with Mr Warren when we were in Sydney last was that they were going to have a review. That was what he had indicated to us at the time, and this letter has been received since. So that's interesting. In terms of the government, well, I know that our local member has indicated that that they are reviewing the situation, but in terms of a formal commitment, we haven't seen that. At this political leaders forum that country mayors are hosting in Sydney next Tuesday, that obviously is one of those items that all of the political leaders have been asked for their commitment, and we're happy to report back from that, Councillor Judd, or on top of that, if you'd like Council to formally write to our state member asking for a position, that would be entirely appropriate. So would you like to move that way? I'll accept that motion. Second, Councillor Judd. That on the motion of Councillor Judd and Councillor Good, that Council write to the New South Wales member for Cootamundra seeking the current coalition government's position in relation to the Red Fleet, handling of Red Fleet assets. Is mover and second happy with that? Thank you. Discussion? If no further discussion, I'll put the motion to you. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you. Councillors, just an item, page 340, of course, the cash and investments report for the period ending 31st of January. I'd just like the Director of Administration and Finance just to clarify the bottom figure, you know, that says our unrestricted reserves. That is very important that we all keep an eye on that as well, because that is the spare cash that we have. It may look good, but the Director, can we...
Thank you, Mr Mayor. No, the report as presented looks terrible. We have a deficit of 2.1 million. However, there are some outstanding grants. We've got nearly 1.7 million in outstanding grants, and about over $2 million worth of RMCC work, which is outstanding, or funds is outstanding. So probably just the nature of the funding at the moment. We have to spend the money and then claim reimbursement. But we don't have many unrestricted funds, which is an ongoing problem. But at the moment, not as bad as what's presented in the report.
Thank you, Madam Director, but yeah, I just wanted the Director to clarify that to Council, but effectively, even with those bills paid, you're talking about $1 million of unrestricted reserves, which is not good. And councillors, that's why as we go down the important OP&R budget process, yeah, we've got some big and tough decisions to make going forward. So thank you very much for that. Any other items in the information paper? Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Road Safety Officer report, a lot of posts there on Temora Facebook site, but should be asked to put the same posts up on the Area Park community page as well. I've never seen any of those really, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Judd. If we can ask the officer to do that. Thank you. And also, I think it's appropriate to, on page 367, 20.16, grant applications. This is a new report that we will see in our information paper. So thank the Director of Environmental Services and the Town Planner, and well done to all involved for the various submissions that have gone in, and particularly the successful ones. We've got great staff that obviously are great at wordsmithing. We as councillors do the lobbying wherever possible, and together we can achieve some great stuff. But well done on those goals that have been kicked to our staff, and we thank them very warmly. There's nothing further information paper. The General Manager.
Could I just seek clarification from Councillor Judd on the point you were making there?
Sorry?
About the Road Safety Officer post.
Councillor Judd, can you just please clarify?
I just request that Road Safety Officer's Facebook post be added to the Area Park community page.
Yeah, okay. Most of them go onto the Road Safety Officer's page, that's all. That's where they go. And occasionally they're picked up by the Temora Shire page. But we can certainly do that. But yeah.
Yeah, if Councillor Judd, I think you'd like, if at all possible, if we can just disperse it to our Area Park site, if that's community site. So well, if we can, thank you. Councillor Judd.
Can't see a great deal of benefit unless you specifically want to go onto hers Facebook site. You're never going to see him. So she's got to be on the community site, I think, as well.
Yeah, yeah. So councillor happy with that directive. So thank you, Mr. General Manager. Councillors, in accordance with Section 10A of the Local Government Act 1993, I advise that there are several matters that are deemed confidential, and accordingly I require a motion, please, to have those matters considered. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, Councillor Oliver, moved, seconded, that we go into closed session. All those of that opinion, please say aye. To the contrary, no. Declare the motion carried. Thank you, Council. We have resumed back into open session, and the recording has commenced. And Council advised that the following motions have been brought forward from closed session into open session. On the motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Oliver, was resolved to move into the confidential section at 5:24 p.m. and motion is carried. Minutes of the Assets and Operations Committee held on the 7th of February 2023. The motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Bushell. It was resolved that the reports be received and the motion is carried. The motion of Councillor Irvine and second of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair. Council resolved to accept the amended quotation from Lyman Associates in regard to report 5.1, Golden Gate Reserve Stormwater Master Plan, subject to funding becoming available. The motion is carried. On the motion of Councillor Bushell and Councillor Judd, it was resolved that the remainder of the reports and recommendations as presented be adopted and the motion is carried. Seals, on the motion of Councillor Bushell and Councillor Good, it was resolved that Council endorsed the seal being affixed to the above document. The motion is carried. Excess agreement for mineral exploration, the motion of Councillor Good and Councillor Irvine, it was resolved that Council denied the request. Amendment was put forward on the motion of Councillor Judd and Councillor Reinhold. That Council seeks legal advice in relation to the access agreement to mineral exploration and referred back to council. The amendment was put and carried. The amendment became a motion. The motion was then put and carried. Lighting upgrade projects grant funding. On the motion of Councillor Good, the second of Deputy Mayor Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that council obtained 3 quotes on 100 lux and 150 lux, and a future report is brought back to council for consideration. The motion is carried. Riverina Murray Regional Transport Plan presentation. On the motion of Councillor Oliver and Councillor Good, it was resolved that council note the report. The motion was carried. Outstanding signage projects. Councillor Irvine declared a pecuniary interest in relation to item REP 23-192 due to being the owner of the sign writing business. Councillor Irvine left the meeting at 5:55 p.m. and took no further part in the discussion. Councillor Bushell declared non-pecuniary interest in relation to item REP 23-192 due to being a previous staff member. Councillor Bushell left the meeting at 5:55 p.m. and took no further part in the discussion. The motion of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair and Councillor Reinhold, it was resolved that council initiates no further new works with the contractor until the outstanding project is completed. The motion is carried. Councillor Irvine and Councillor Bushell both returned to the chamber at 6:03 p.m. The motion of Councillor Reinhold and the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, it was resolved that council moves the motions from closed session into open, and the motion is carried. The motion of Councillor Oliver and Councillor Good, it was resolved that council moves out of closed session into open council. That's 6:17 p.m. and that motion is carried. Councillors, those being the motions from closed session, I now ask that in open council we formally adopt those motions in open. Thank you, Councillor Good. The Deputy Mayor, Councillor Sinclair, moved, seconded. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary motion, the motion carried. Thank you very much. Councillors, there have been no further business in the February meeting of council. I thank you so much for your attendance. Councillors, senior staff, declare the meeting closed. Thank you.